Assassin's Creed Shadows have released their official story reveal trailer, which has given us much more information about the story for us to piece together. In this video I'm going to break down some of the key elements that we've seen and give a bit of speculation over where I think the story will be heading. The key thing with the story reveal is that it's mostly taken from the prologue and initial character tutorials, as the main game events are set after what we see in the trailer. Ubisoft actually did a 2-hour stream showcasing a mission about halfway through the story, which sheds a bit more light on some of this, but I will be covering that in another video to avoid any spoilers that weren't showcased in this trailer. We pick up the story reveal with Naoe experiencing a nightmare, and in the background someone asking her to breathe deeply and explain what she experienced. I think this will be a key element of her personal story and journey within the game, as there's clearly something crucial that happens here. Perhaps it's related to uncovering what happened with this box that we see her running away with, which may be a piece of Eden, or the hidden blade that her father gives her, which we will cover in a moment. Speaking of her father though, during this nightmare we see the events which I believe relate to his death, as you see her covered in blood and yelling out the Japanese word for father as 2 masked men are with them.
Breathe deeply.
However, we have actually seen these masked men before. If you remember back to the exploration reveal footage, we saw the objective board and the Onryo, who we suspected to be Shadow's version of the Templars. Well, 2 of these Onryo have the exact same masks as the 2 individuals who we see potentially killing Naoe's father, pretty much confirming that they are members of the Templar Order or the Order of the Ancients, as we do know that Fujibayashi Nagato, Naoe's father, was a member of the Assassins. The reveal trailer then gives us a bit more context on this as we open up with the Battle of Iga and an introduction into Oda Nobunaga on his march to root out the Iga clan. We see the people of Iga fighting for their homeland, and they become quite overwhelmed by the sheer volume of Nobunaga's forces. As this battle enrages, we do see the moment that Naoe's father gives her the hidden blade, concealed in a box with the assassin logo clearly etched onto it. He says that the blade must be protected, showing some clear value to this, likely beyond just as an assassin's tool, and potentially opening up a wider connection to the Assassin's Creed universe that we know. Later on we actually see another shinobi with the hidden blade, but again, we'll cover that shortly. On the other end of the battlefield, we get to see more about Oda Nobunaga and Yasuke's involvement. We already know that he is part of the Battle of Iga, which is again confirmed in this reveal trailer, but we get to see a little bit more about his allegiance with Nobunaga. We see Yasuke being brought to a meeting with Nobunaga by Alessandro Valignano, the Portuguese Jesuit who Yasuke was believed to be a slave of at the time, acting as his bodyguard. During their dealings, Nobunaga saw potential in Yasuke and took him in as part of the trade with the Jesuits, essentially freeing Yasuke and giving him a new life as a samurai. We see the struggles that Yasuke faced being in Japan and having to learn the customs and the way of the samurai.
The black soldier is not one of us. Send him back to wherever he belongs.
But we do know that Yasuke eventually proves himself and came to deeply respect Japanese customs and the code of honor that samurai lived by called Bushido. And this deep respect for Japanese customs is why I think Yasuke goes on to question some of the decisions by Oda Nobunaga. We see an interesting interaction as Yasuke looks questioningly to Nobunaga after he refuses a duel with another samurai. Nobunaga talks about moving to a more modern age before having him shot down by Teppo rifle.
Kill me? No. Duels belong in the old world. This is the way forward.
We get a clear picture of Nobunaga who's looking to unify Japan under his own vision. I think this may lead to some wavering loyalty between him and Yasuke in the early parts and prologue of the story. However, this is then when we see the fight between Naoe and Yasuke, which reveals something very interesting. During this fight, which may take place at the Battle of Iga or perhaps at a later date, Yasuke recognises the hidden blade as something he has seen before.
The blade. It is sharp.
But where could he have seen this? Potentially this comes back to the other shinobi we saw with the hidden blade on the boat a little bit later on. We know that Yasuke travelled to Japan on a boat, so perhaps this is the encounter with the hidden blade during these brief events, or perhaps he sees it later as a result of Naoe assassinating someone as she moves for revenge. We don't know anything for sure, and I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory, but I would love to know what your guys' speculation down in the comments below about where Yasuke may have seen the hidden blade for the first time. However, after these events, we eventually bring the 2 protagonists together as they decide to join forces after seeing the apparent corruption of Japan, and Naoe pleading with Yasuke that his actions are wrong after killing innocent people. I think that the moment that they come together will actually be fleshed out a lot more in the early stages of the story, because there's not a lot to go on just yet, and it'll be interesting to see how their motivations and loyalties change that bring them together. I also think this will then be fleshed out a lot more in their own personal stories. We also get to see some flashing by images of the different allies that Yasuke and Naoe will have throughout the game, these being the assassin recruits. We know there are going to be 6 recruits in total, and we actually saw gameplay of 2 of them in Ubisoft's stream that I mentioned earlier. From everything we've seen so far, I think there's going to be a really high focus on fleshing out some of the other characters in the game beyond just Naoe and Yasuke. I think that they're going to put a lot of effort into some of the main characters, some of the main enemies that we're going to see, and a lot of the side NPC quests. I think the level of detail they'll go into will be more like Odyssey, where we had characters such as Socrates or Herodotus, who played quite a crucial role in the story, and gave you something that you wanted to keep going back for within their missions. Regardless, everything we've seen so far has really given me confidence that they put a key focus on the narrative within the game, whether it be the main quests that Naoe and Yasuke are going on, the prologue that underpins it all, the NPC and side quests that we get, or the internal backstories for each of the main characters, which will give a lot more into their motivations and what we can expect from them from a story point of view. Now, this next set of speculation involves some details from the Ubisoft gameplay stream later on in the story, so if you want to avoid any spoilers that weren't mentioned in the reveal trailer, then I advise ending the video here. In Ubisoft's presentation of the game, we hear someone say to Yasuke that they admire how he continued to stay at Nobunaga's side until the very end at Honnoji, which is historically where Nobunaga dies. This actually confirms that Nobunaga may not be the main antagonist of the game that we originally thought, as he dies before the main events of the story, which we get to explore. Who kills him? Potentially the assassins, or maybe even Naoe, which is where Yasuke may have seen the hidden blade. We don't know for sure, but there are some ideas floating around. This is all speculation, but knowing that the Honnoji incident and Nobunaga's death likely happened before the main story opens up a much wider arc for potential theories that we previously had about who the Templar Order are within Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you're excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows and want more breakdowns, news and guides, then drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting all the way up to the game's release, and then a lot more content once the game is finally here on March 20th.